Welcome to the welding and cutting training for field technicians and sales. The purpose of the course is to provide a general understanding of the proper use of welding and cutting equipment, requirements and the processes involved to ensure safety. After completion of this training, employees should know and understand how to properly set up an oxygen-acetylene torch kit for general purpose cutting, suggested working pressures for fuel gas and oxygen, and personnel and equipment required to safely conduct torch cutting operations. Remember, always check if the welding or cutting job requires a hot permit. Inspect the oxygen tank, the acetylene tank and the hoses for obvious damage. A quick leak check can be done by pressurizing the hoses and then watching the gauges to see if they drop in pressure. If the pressure readings drop, there is a leak. Do not check for leaks with a lighter. Only use approved liquid leak check solutions. Make sure that main valves are off and the regulator pressure adjusting screws are backed out with no pressure readings on the gauges. Ensure torch valves are off. Stand to the side and slowly turn on the oxygen cylinder valve. Do not face the regulator while you do this. Once pressure reads on the gauge, open up the valve all the way and back seat it. Always turn on the oxygen very slowly. Turning it on suddenly can actually make the regulator explode. Stand to the side and slowly turn on the acetylene or fuel gas cylinder valve. Open half to 3/4 turn, or slightly more if necessary to get a good reading. Remember, never open the fuel gas valve more than 1.5 turns. Set pressure on each regulator according to manufacturer's recommendations, circled in yellow. General purpose torch cutting delivery pressures are: oxygen 20 pounds per square inch, acetylene 6 pounds per square inch. Purge each hose individually by opening the valves one at a time for a few seconds. Now you are ready to light the torch. Open the acetylene torch valve 1/8-1/4 turn. Using a torch striker, light the torch. Not opening the valve enough will cause acetylene black soot floaters. Open the valve until the smoke just goes away from the flame and so that the flame is not jumping away from the tip. Now open the oxygen valve until the inner cone or cones define. This is known as a neutral flame. If you are using a cutting tip, press the cutting lever and make final adjustments to the flame so the cones are defined. At this time, you may perform cutting operations with your oxyacetylene torch kit. Now let's shut down the oxyacetylene cutting torch equipment. To shut down the equipment, first turn off the fuel gas torch valve. Then turn off the oxygen valve. Some brands like the Victor cutting torch have instructions to turn off the oxygen first. It's always best to follow the instructions for the torch you are using. Now, go to the source and turn off the cylinder valves. Purge the pressure from the lines by opening the torch valves one at a time until the gauge pressures read 0. Close the torch valves. Back out oxygen regulator pressure screw until loose, circled in yellow. Purge acetylene line until gauges read 0. Back out acetylene pressure regulator screw until loose. Inspect the hot work area and wait the appropriate time before leaving the site. Thank you for completing the welding and cutting training.